It's my birthday week, which means, folks, it's time for the ACC Tournament and, of course, March Madness and the bigger bracket. Can't wait to do the bracket. And, folks, if you are a fan of March Madness and you like doing that, I will have a bracket available for fans of the show to tune in. It's fun. We did it last year. But we got to start with the disappointing loss last night for the University of North Carolina. I mean, clearly you guys know exactly who I pull for when it comes to college athletics. It's a team that I grew up on, the team my dad liked. Went to tons of games growing up as a kid. And it's unfortunate to see how much better Duke has been this year than the University of North Carolina. Yes, they have Cooper Flagg. Yes, they have a lot of depth, but they've been able to figure it out and played really good basketball. Now, North Carolina gave them everything they could handle within the first half, going into the second half. Once RJ Davis, who was really leading the charge, got pulled out, Duke had like a 12-point swing, and then that was the end of it. That was all the Carolina could do. They put up a much better fight, but unfortunately, this isn't about good fights and, hey, we tried hard and we did this. Your resume is your resume. And when you sit there, no matter what the brand is, what your name is, what your logo is, who played for you, who's your coach, when you are 1-11 in quad one games, and that's the measurement of success, or one of the key measurements, odds are you're going to need some help to get into the NCAA tournament. Last night would have helped. Sitting at 2-10 wouldn't have been great, but it would have been much better. You could argue you beat the best team in the country. You could also argue you played shot for shot with the best team in the country for a half, and then maybe a half of another half, so 3/4 of a game. You were in it. You were competing, but that's not how the game is played. That's not how results are measured for North Carolina, and they came up short. It's unfortunate. It really is. I didn't have a lot of expectations. I think they showed much better grit than the first time around, and much better grit than earlier in the season. You can't lose some of the games they lost. We could sit here, and I've talked about the out-of-conference schedule, one of the toughest in the country. Some of those things you can't really plan as you go out and play these invitational tournaments. You don't know who you're going to get stacked with, but even then, they're out of conference. It was heavy. Played a lot of really good teams. A good portion of their quad one win losses are going to be teams that are in the tournament, and some of the best teams in the tournament. I mean, there's only so much that you can do, but it is what it is. And so now the fate of North Carolina basketball is going to reside on their performance in the ACC tournament. And as we talk about the ACC tournament, a team that had to do this last year and they won the whole thing is, of course, NC State. NC State, terrible season for them. I mean, it really is shocking to see them go from the Final Four. Now, I didn't expect them to go from the Final Four to where they are. I expected them to still be competitive. I thought they could take the Final Four run and use that as like a stepping stone for recruiting and for players. And you're like, oh, they're taking the step in the right direction. But Kevin Keatts, former UNCW coach, just could not get it together and has officially been fired. When you can't even make your own ACC tournament, again, I know there's 18 teams in the tournament now, so they only take 15. I don't know why you don't just take them all. But when you can't even make your conference tournament, it's going to be an issue. But now, University of North Carolina is sitting in that exact position. Not exactly, because NC State was towards the bottom. Like, the run they went on last year was insane. North Carolina's resume isn't going to get beefed up, per se, with the wins that are potentially to come. So you're going to have the winner of Pitt and Notre Dame. Like, okay, Pitt and Notre Dame, that's not that big of a matchup. And we know that they split with Pitt earlier this year. Either way, Carolina should win that. The problem is your next game is against Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a bubble team because, if we're being honest, Duke, Louisville, and Clemson, those are the three teams in the ACC right now that are going to make the tournament. Wake Forest is on the bubble. They have the tiebreaker over North Carolina, which is why they got the 4 seed. But beating Wake is not going to get you in. So as a fan in North Carolina, the only way you're really going to get in is you got to beat Duke. And this is assuming that Virginia or Georgia Tech doesn't upset Duke. I don't see that happening. Let's say North Carolina gets through game 5, then gets through game 9, set up a rematch, third time with Duke. It's played in Charlotte, it's not Greensboro. I mean, maybe on a neutral floor. I think Duke is just too good. But that's to say, even if North Carolina wins that's 3 in a row. They would have to pull off, which is it's possible. I don't know that even that is enough. For them, making it to the ACC championship would be good. Maybe it would put pressure on the committee if they are able to finally knock off Duke, assuming they can make the run. I think they've got to win it all, unfortunately. Because if you win it all, you automatically get the bid. When I look at the bracket, who knows what's going to happen to Louisville and Clemson? Both of those teams could make a run and end up in the finals. But if you get through this thing and maybe there's an upset in the bottom half of the bracket, there's no guarantee you're going to have a quad one opponent in the finals. And so at that point, you got to win. You got to win it all. So unfortunately, this feels like a backs up against the wall situation for North Carolina. They should be able to get through their first matchup, we would hope. Second matchup's going to be tough. Wake Forest was a tough opponent, but we've seen Wake Forest kind of fall apart here recently. So I don't know, man. It's a tough year. Good news is, I guess, maybe, question mark, is that, hey, it's almost football season, which feels very weird to say. We have spring practice kicking off for the University of North Carolina. But anyways, folks, we're going to have fun. We're going to do March Madness. We'll have the brackets. But as always, this is Carolina Dad. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and y'all have a good one.